If you've been following my retro flight sim series, you'll know that I've found some quality add-ons in second-hand stores recently. Highlights include the PMDG 737, the study-level PSS Concorde, and the fairly decent Captain Sim 727, all for about £5 each. However, today I'd like to introduce you to the bottom of the barrel, the F-Sim Just Flight SR-71. I'm fairly certain that even at the time there were better freeware SR-71s than this payware product. Although most of the instruments are in the right place, they all look completely wrong, so the artificial horizon, HSI and speed indicator look nothing like the real thing. And for some reason, the starter controls, the lights and all the other ancillaries have been lazily shelved either side of the main panel. Even in 2004 in a virtual cockpit there was no excuse to not put them in the right place, which is here, either side of the pilot's seat. Although it feels a little unfair to criticise the 2D panel because they're not necessarily meant to be accurate, they're just meant to put all the instruments and switches in a convenient place. This is a particularly bad one. I mean, just look at it. It's like an edutainment game from 30 years ago. So now it's time to take this disaster piece of design for a test flight. Fun fact, if you wanted to, you could fly this Blackbird from one side of the world to the other without having to refuel. There's some kind of excuse in the manual as to why they had to make the fuel tanks unrealistically big. It says that fitting realistically sized fuel tanks would break other realistic features in this aircraft, but really I think they just couldn't be bothered to simulate in-air refueling. To be fair, the takeoff roll and rotation speed are fairly realistic. It rotates with afterburners on at about 200 knots. The other important question is, can it do Mach 3? After all, it's a Blackbird, the fastest plane on the planet. The good news is yes, it will do Mach 3. The slightly less good news is it will do Mach 3 about 5 seconds after you apply full throttle, regardless of what altitude you're at. I once built a rocket-powered SR-71 in X-Plane just for fun, and it wasn't as fast as this thing. I should say at this point that this SR-71 was actually replaced in the Just Flight catalogue with the glowing heat SR-71 for Flight Simulator X, which is an all-round fantastic product. We'll turn the SR-71 around and bring it in for a landing. The low-speed handling actually isn't too bad. It's nose up around 200 knots and stalls somewhere around 150. As far as low-speed handling goes, it's actually quite close to the Laminar Research SR-71 that's packaged with X-Plane. Another redeeming feature of this plane is that it actually flies an ILS just fine, assuming of course you have the patience to do a full flight in this thing. You can literally go completely hands-off for approach, drop the throttles as soon as you're over the runway, and the plane will happily plant itself down and deploy the parachute. What nobody knows about the SR-71 Blackbird is that it was actually fitted with brakes made of toilet paper. Or at least that's true for this simulation of the Blackbird, because it takes forever to stop, even with the parachute extended, and for some reason gets seriously out of shape along the way. Eventually the plane does crawl itself to a stop at the end of the runway, which is lucky as the second-hand store closes in a couple of hours and I really want to return this product. Thank you so much for watching. If you were entertained, please drop a like and feel free to subscribe as I make this kind of content fairly regularly. Take care and I'll see you next time, hopefully in something a little bit better.